I'm Teray Foster and this is 3D HealthNet, and today I'm going to make dry mixes. Now this is something from my cookbook, my Whole Foods Kitchen. Now my Whole Foods Kitchen is a cookbook that tells you how to use whole foods in your everyday cooking and cook everything from scratch, but still have meals that your family will love. So today we're going to make pancake mix that also makes waffles, crepes, muffins, and then we're going to make some bread mix that also makes buns and pitas and pizza dough, everything to do with bread dough. The recipe from my cookbook, my Whole Foods Kitchen cookbook, and I'm in the dry mix section, and I'm doing the waffle mix and the whole wheat bread mix. And it makes it nice because all you have to do is add water. In my Whole Foods Kitchen cookbook, we have a plan, and we do that plan weekly. And one of the things we do is on Wednesday, we grind wheat. We make bread, and we make pancake mix if we're out of it. And so mixing those things up, everything to do with wheat we do on Wednesday. You need to prepare a little bit before you get started on these dry mixes, because the biggest part of the job, or the dirtiest part, is grinding the wheat. Which is very nice that I have my husband who is willing to do that for me. So now for each ingredient that I put in my bowl, I'm also going to put into a baggie so that I have a second batch mixed up at the same time. And that will make me that much more ahead. Later, all I have to do is add the flour. When you grind your wheat, it begins to deteriorate right away, just by oxygen. So you want to have it in airtight containers, and then you also want to just do it fresh. You want to grind it fresh and make your mixes. But we don't always have time to do that. So I often will make up a big batch of freshly ground flour and then make all my mixes at the same time. Then it may be a month or two before I have to grind again. Well, if you're a little more of a purist and you want to have your wheat fresh, you could just add all your ingredients into the baggie minus the wheat, and then add the wheat as you go and grind fresh that day. So first we're going to need some honey powder or organic sugar, whichever you prefer, and I'm out of honey powder, so I'm going to use my organic sugar. And I'm going to need some egg powder, and that calls for 1.5 cups, no, 1 cup. And we have to remember our second batch too. For some milk powder. I leave a cup in here because it just makes it quicker to get it out. I'm going to need a cup. And then we're going to need some white bean flour. The white bean flour replaces oil in the recipe. And so a lot of people don't realize that they could actually have white bean flour replace butter, margarine, shortening, oil. Anything in a baked recipe can be replaced with white beans. Now you can grind the white bean as a powder, and you could cook the white bean and use it mashed. And mashed white beans almost looks like lard or something like that. So you can kind of understand that as far as cup for cup, you would replace it in your recipes. But the powdered is something new and kind of exciting. So you grind up the white beans and you use it as a powder. Now, a lot of people feel concerned about that because there's toxins in beans and you're supposed to soak them overnight, get all those toxins out. Otherwise, it can cause upset stomach. So what you want to do is maybe cook your beans, dehydrate them, grind them, and put them in your recipe, which is what I have done. So when you're making your batch of beans, and if you've already seen that video that has the 6 different beans and then rice in the middle and you cook them all at once, use the white beans to dehydrate and grind for your baking recipes. They're nicely labeled so that you can just start measuring away. The white bean flour I've already cooked and then dehydrated and then ground. So we need, says here we need 1.5 cups of the white beans. So I'm going to use 1/2 cup and just put 3 of them in there. My salt, my baking powder, my baking soda is all in this bin. So we'll grab, where were they? There they are. So we need 3 tablespoons of baking powder and 1 tablespoon of baking soda. There's the 1 of baking soda. Just put it right back in. 3 of baking powder. 1, 2, 3 of baking powder. Put it back in. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for bread because I want my bread mix in my breakfast bin, and I want that ready to go too. And so I have a container labeled with bread mix. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Put all the ingredients in there and put it into a airtight container and put it in the breakfast bin so that it's ready to go when I want to make bread. One of the challenges of making bread mix ahead is that the yeast has to be refrigerated. And so if you want to make a lot ahead, you're going to have to refrigerate all those little baggies, which is not a big deal unless you have no room in your refrigerator like I do. So then you have no place to put it, and then that makes another challenge. You have to figure out where to keep it, maybe in your freezer. What's great about doing this in kind of bite-sized projects is that if you grind the wheat, or get your husband to grind the wheat, or get your son to grind the wheat, and then at another time you mix it up and put it into baggies, and then at another time you throw the baggie into your mixer and start the mixer and walk away, come back, it's starting to rise. It makes everything in bite-sized projects where you don't have to be cooking all day. And most of us don't have time to be cooking all day. And so to break it up makes it very nice, and you want it to be in about, at the most, 20-minute projects. And my husband actually takes the grinder outside and he just grinds up a ton of wheat all at once and puts it into these giant containers. And what that does is it makes it so that when I'm ready, which sometimes it's not exactly at the same moment he's ready, so when I'm ready, then I can come and now use that flour and start to make mixes. So we kind of have division of labor there, and it makes it all work. I have my dinner bin, my snack bin, and my breakfast bin. So I hope you enjoyed my Whole Foods Kitchen dry mix demonstration. I'm Teray Foster, and this is 3D Health Net.